So there is a lot of advice floating around on the internet, and not all of it is good. So what we're gonna do today is get away from the productivity tips and the self-improvement advice that I think is actually good and should be implemented into your life, and talk about 3 pieces of advice that I took very seriously, in some cases tried to follow for quite a long period of time, before realizing that they were ultimately bad advice, or at least I interpreted them in a bad way and ended up doing something more destructive than positive in my life. And we are just gonna jump into it with one that I get emailed about all the time, which is the common saying that you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Now, on the surface, there isn't a whole lot to object to with this quotation or this aphorism, or whatever it is you want to call it, because we are influenced by the people we spend the most time around. It's obvious people are the products of their friends, their family, the people that they tend to hang out with, or at least they're very much influenced by those people. But where they start going down the wrong path, I think, is when they take that piece of advice and they draw the conclusion that if I'm an ambitious person, if I have a lot of goals, if I'm really high energy and I want to be successful, then I have to ditch everyone in my life who doesn't operate in the same way that I do. If I'm friends with somebody, but they're a little bit more chill, or they don't want to be working 24/7, I need to stop being friends with those people immediately and go find new friends who are going to be a lot more ambitious. And I really don't like this piece of advice because it leads people to think these things. And in fact, when I was younger and I think more foolish, I thought this as well. Now, luckily, I didn't end up following through with it and actually ditching my friends, but there were times when I was thinking to myself, man, maybe I need to go find a different friend group because I seem to be interested in different things. I seem to be wanting to work on my entrepreneurial projects all the time, while my friends kind of don't do the same thing. And what I realized later on is that you don't have to be on the same ambitional wavelength as your friends to be friends with them, because friendships are separate from your work and your goals and ambitions. But what you do need to make sure you are doing is spending some of your time surrounding yourself with people who do build you up and who do motivate you and encourage you and challenge you. So a better way to put this, and the way that I would prefer it be communicated to people in the future, is don't worry about the time breakdown. Don't try to list out the 5 people you hang out with most often and then rank them and give them qualities, because number one, friendships don't have to be based on having the exact same ambitions or even the same level of ambition. You can be friends with somebody just because you like them and enjoy spending time with them, but make sure that you are spending time with people who do challenge you. So a practical example of this would be if you're in college and you're hanging out with your friends in the dorms, playing video games, playing board games, whatever it is, also make sure that you have some time during the week that you go and participate in a club or you go to networking events. Just do something where you are regularly exposed to people who do challenge you. And this could be really simple. It could even be a once a week mastermind group through Skype or Discord or any other online chat platform. Just make sure you get that regular exposure. And when you go about it in this way, you're also not ditching people who, quite honestly, probably need you. Remember that if you're an ambitious person, if you have a lot of goals, if you're kind of going somewhere in life or you feel that you are, then you're probably an inspiration and a source of motivation and strength for somebody else. And if we all took this literally, if we all said, I have to be around the 5 people who are most inspiring, who are going to challenge me the most, we would all only look upwards. We would be constantly ignoring the people who probably need us and trying to chase people who we think we need. And instead, we should be thinking in both directions. We should be pursuing relationships with people who do challenge us and who we can learn from, but we should also make sure that we keep cultivating relationships with people who we can help. All right, the second piece of advice that I want to talk about here is simple. Be everywhere. And again, this is another one that on the surface seems like a really good piece of advice, especially if you want to get your name out into the world. Now, when I heard this piece of advice, it was in the context of how to build a successful blog, how to build a successful online following. And again, it seems like a really good piece of advice because if you are everywhere, if you're on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and commenting other blogs and all kinds of stuff, then there are so many different opportunities for people to find out who you are. But again, it's it's the way in which you interpret this advice that really makes the difference. And the way that I interpreted it was actually destructive, because I took be everywhere as a call for me to be active on every platform all the time. So I was on LinkedIn and I was writing articles on LinkedIn. I was commenting on other people's articles. I was on Twitter and I had a habit in my habit tracker at one point to tweet 5 articles a day and a certain amount of quotes per day. I had Facebook pages. I was even on app.net for a while, and probably nobody watching this video even remembers what app.net was, because it died a pretty quick death. So I would say that looking back on my career, the points at which I made the most progress were the ones where I failed to be everywhere. There were the times when I got one idea in my head, one piece of content that I wanted to make, one article, one video, and I ignored everything else for a period of days, sometimes even weeks, to make one great thing. Now, there is a quote that I do want to share here, which I'm going to edit a little bit to remove an expletive, but the quote goes, "Self-promotion. If you don't like it, stay in your basement." You do have to self-promote. You do have to put your work out there. But I think you need to take a majority of your time and use it to focus on creating something that is really worth paying attention to, or honing your skills so you are in the top 10% or 5% of people in your field. Once you've done that, then you can take the little bit of time that's left over and use it on self-promotion. And you can be everywhere to a certain extent. You can have a presence on all these platforms, but if you're splitting your time up into little chunks every single day trying to be active on all these platforms, you don't have any time left over to do something that's worth sharing. So focus on that first. And speaking of focus, that brings us to our third and final piece of bad advice, which is the common advice to focus on your strengths and ignore your weaknesses. Now, again, just as with the first 2 pieces of advice we talked about here, this is something that can be interpreted in a positive way if you know what your strengths are. But the problem is, we give this advice to people who are often very early in their careers, or sometimes to kids. And when you're a kid, or when you're a teenager, or when you're early in your career, you often haven't put in enough work to know what's actually a weakness and what's just something that you haven't put enough effort into, something that you're just in the dip right now and you haven't kind of come out of that initial area of difficulty that almost nobody makes it out of. So for example, a lot of people in the world say, "I'm bad at math," or "I'm bad at learning languages," or "I'm just not cut out to play music. That's just a weakness of mine." And that third one is a big one for me. I went a lot of my life saying that I'm just not cut out for music. I don't have it in me to be a musician. I should go and do something else. And I've learned in recent years that that isn't the case at all. I just hadn't put in the work to become a somewhat decent musician. And now that I have, I realize that no, music is actually a strength. I have like this pretty nice improvisational talent that allows me to play music that's pretty decent, at least to my ears. It just took me a while to develop that skill. So I think a better way to go about this is to follow your interests. If you're interested in something, be it speaking Japanese or learning calculus or learning high-level statistics or playing the guitar or the piano, put ample time into the practice of whatever that thing is. Now, you may realize down the line that, yes, this is a weakness of mine. I'm trying to play basketball and I'm just not tall enough to dunk the ball. Okay, maybe that's a weakness. But I think more times than not, you are going to discover that what you thought was a weakness was just something that is inherently difficult to learn for a lot of different people, and that just requires more work. Now, on that note of following your interests, one common objection to this might be that I don't know what my interests are, or I don't have an interest that's compelling enough to really follow right now. And if that's the case for you, then you might want to go expose yourself to new information so you can develop new interests. And there are plenty of different ways to do that. You can go browse the stacks of your local library, or you could go watch a really interesting documentary on a service like CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is a news streaming service with over 2,400 high-quality documentaries that was actually created by John Hendricks, who was the founder of the Discovery Channel, which was the way that I discovered a lot of my interests as a kid. Now, the great thing about CuriosityStream is that unlike the Discovery Channel, you don't have to wait for a certain thing to come on. At any time and almost anywhere, since you'll find CuriosityStream on iOS, Android, Roku, and plenty of other devices, you can access any documentary you want. There are science documentaries, history documentaries, technology documentaries. There are even documentaries from people like Stephen Hawking and Sigourney Weaver. And if you're looking for a place to start, then I would like to give you a recommendation, because one of my big interests that I don't talk about a whole lot on my channel is the development of artificial intelligence. This has been something that I've been interested in for probably 5 or 6 years at this point. And on CuriosityStream, you're gonna find a documentary called The Road to the Singularity, which explores how the development of several different technologies, including biotech and nanotech, could lead to the development of artificial intelligence and the singularity, the intelligence explosion. So if you want to check out that documentary or any of the others on the platform, then you should give CuriosityStream a try. It's really affordable, just $2.99 per month, and if you want to give it a try for free, you can actually get a free 30-day trial of unlimited watching on the platform by going over to curiositystream.com/Thomas and using the code Thomas at checkout. Huge thanks, as always, goes out to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video and being a big supporter of my channel and the content that I create, and thank you as well for watching. If you found this video useful, definitely hit that like button and also get subscribed right there so you don't miss future videos when they come out, and also click right there to get a free copy of my book on how to earn better grades if you haven't done so already. Last but not least, you can check out one more video on this channel right over here or watch our latest podcast episode right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.